Isaac Barron's still playing really good. We have h7 raising. Let's see how Isaac Barron decides to play his ace-9 offsuit. Heads up. Makes the call. Flops top pair. Bruno Vogman flops bottom pair.
And I'm trying to look back and think about some hands about Isaac Barron. I think he's made 0 mistakes this final table. Like, really. I know he lost queens versus kings. You can't blame him on that hand, but he's played perfectly.
Wow. Trying to think back if there was like one hand.
No, he played perfectly, Roddy. Like
we'll keep it at perfect.
I'm on point with every single hand he played today.
Those are not the hands of professional players that you would typically see in a check-raised pot here. One pair for Isaac Barron, extremely accomplished player, both online and live. I think this is extremely interesting to see him check-raise ace-9 on this board. What do you think his reasons are? Because you don't see pros doing this.
My best guess is that Isaac has on this board a fair amount of check raises that are semi-bluff. So he's got combo draws, maybe he has other clubs, he might have some gut shots, and there isn't that much value that he has when they're heads up. He doesn't have a set of jacks, doesn't have a set of aces, he probably doesn't have a set of eights, he probably doesn't have ace-jack. So now we're down to just jack-8 and ace-8 for value, and that's just not enough to balance all the bluffs he's going to have, so he needs to have more value. And ace-9 is probably the best unpaired ace, maybe ace-10, but probably ace-9, the best unpaired ace that he doesn't 3-bet. So this may be the next best hand after jack-8 he can show up with for value.
So all for the sake of balance, essentially, because in practice you would think you would accomplish a lot of things that you don't want to accomplish, like folding out potential future bluffs that Bruno could have.
Absolutely.
And things like that, right?
Yeah, for sure. This is like not a normal play.
Right.
Like this, I said all that, and that makes it sound like, oh, so of course you do it, but like, almost no one ever does this. Everyone just check calls here because you don't want to scare away the bluffs. You don't want to get blown off the hand that is a good, strong value hand.
Well, it seems like Isaac is maybe messing with the dials a little bit because, the top level guys are all playing the same way. He's going to try something a little different. And I think it's cool and interesting.
Yeah.
And then we get to Bruno, who betting at all in the first place is, you could do it or you could not. He's doing it for equity denial, you would think, because you're not getting value with 7-8 on this board. You're just denying equity. Now, when you have an equity denial hand that's pure equity denial because it has no real value, you can't get value, feels like folding is the easiest option when you get check raised now, right? Like that seems like plan A is just let's get rid of it. It's too bad we got check raised. That didn't work out.
I think you're right. That feels like the best play here. We have so many better hands that are draws and made hands as well. This doesn't have a whole lot of chance to really improve either. We need to hit one of our 5 outs, basically. It's not great. I guess we can go run around our clubs, but who wants to do that with this card?
I don't want to do that.
Right. No one wants that. So that doesn't seem like a good play. Now, on the podcast, you came up with a great point, which is you thought this was one of the best hands to 3-bet with. So talk about that.
Well, you mentioned what Isaac's traditional value range would be, and the hands that are currently made in that are ace-8 and jack-8. So having an 8 blocks all of his traditional value range. So if we're going to continue in this hand, it feels like 3-betting is far superior to calling, where if we put him on a traditional check-raising range, he's got those value hands that have us crushed. He's also got combo draws and some gut shots and stuff, which all have significant equity against us, and we're not going to know which cards we have to avoid or what to do on future streets. So calling feels like the worst of all 3 options. If we're going to have 3-bet bluffs on this board, which we probably shouldn't have too frequently, but if we're going to have some that aren't like super strong semi-bluffs like King, Queen of clubs, then I think we should probably have hands that have an 8 in them. I think it makes the most sense because of what Isaac's perceived value range is.
And this hand specifically, and worse 8s are all the kinds of 8s that don't like interact with the board in any real way and don't have any obvious improving. Like if we had 8-10 or something like that, well, we can make straights. There's more that we can do with that.
Yeah.
This is a bad 8 even. So like, if you're going to pick an 8, this is the kind of 8 you'd want.
I mean, if you're going to put more chips in the pot and you have an 8, it feels like 3-betting is the way to go.
Yeah.
Calling feels like just kind of a mistake.
I mean, you'd be calling specifically because you think a lot of the check raises are draws, but of course
they have significant equity.
They all have significant equity. We're losing to the overall range badly.
Yeah.
If Isaac does this a lot, I guess you could call once, but it's rough, and it seems like the worst of the 3 options.
Hey, there's a 4th option, and it's really good. It's to, get on Nitrogen Sports and play some poker. Use the link in our pinned tweet and you get access to our monthly tournament. There's always an overlay, Jonathan. That's a good deal.
It sure is. It's our monthly tournament, like you said, and they put in thousands of dollars every month, extra money for you to win. It's amazing. They have sports betting. They have casino games too. It's just a cornucopia of happiness. Get you on there and get some poker.
Yeah, get you on there.
Shut up, Grant.
8-7 makes the call while Isaac Barron is getting value, check raising ace-9 on ace-jack-8.
This is a big pot now. 2 million in the middle. Bruno Vogman 6.5 behind though. Check. What is Bruno Vogman doing?
I don't think Volkman thinks he's got the best hand. I think he
No.
might
On
turn his
this
hand into a
board?
bluff. Yeah, he doesn't because the king is like, okay, if my opponent was making a move, Volkman might blast off this turn card and he'd have to shove a river. This is a crazy hand of poker happening right now.
Isaac, you remember when you said Isaac Barron has not made a mistake tonight? Why do I feel like he's gonna fall to the deuce of diamonds on the river or something?
Oh, this is. I feel as played, this tournament's over, Roddy. Honestly, Volkman, he called the check raise. He knows the eight's no good. It kind of looks like Baron has like a club draw
jack?
pair, like a jack 10 of clubs or something. So he's gonna, because he would check raise the flop, check call the turn. I think this is over, Roddy. To honest, I think Volkman's gonna shove, like, or at least bet 4 million or 3 million or something stupid.
Bruno Vogman goes all in. Isaac Barron with 2 pair, not top and bottom, but he does have top pair. I mean, you can't fold ace 9 here,
Not
can
folding.
you?
He's not folding.
He's gonna take his time for it. I mean, obviously there is that queen 10, but he makes the
Wow.
call and the tournament is all over.
Well, that is a curious path to winning a tournament when the effective stack to start the hand was over 50 big blinds. You don't often see hands like this show up to win a tournament in a heads-up match. Pretty cool how it happened. Very interesting hand, perhaps unique in the history of breakdowns that we've done. I don't remember other hands that kind of played like this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about quickly Isaac's decision on the turn, going back to check. It feels like the right decision to me. I like it because I know it's weird to have check raised and now check, but like it doesn't feel like there are a lot of good outcomes when we bet, right? At this point.
For sure, betting doesn't seem to be great. We're going to fold out all the marginal draws. The hands that are beating us are never folding. A lot of the hands that are losing to us are folding. But if we check, we can induce bluffs, as you see we do. And also we get to control the pot at least a little bit. Now we end up all in anyway here, so not the case. But against a hand that's beating us, maybe that hand isn't always going to go bet all in. So that way we don't lose all the chips every time when we're
Also,
losing anyway.
The range is different if Bruno bets after we check on the turn versus if he raises when we bet, right?
sure.
Like the rate we can call against the range that bets like Bruno has right now, right? Let's speak about that though. Bruno deciding to go for it. Now you could just, as you coined on the podcast, pack it in and give up on this hand if you're Bruno, and check, and maybe you can improve and actually win sometimes. But like just basically say, I hope my equity is good enough, and maybe I should just give up on this. If you're going to go for it, though, I think Bruno has the right idea. You have to fire twice. You're not going to fold out Isaac's range most of the time by firing once when he check raised the flop and now checked. What it really looks like he has is Jack X or King X of clubs, right? Something with showdown value and clubs. There is almost a 0% chance he would fold that on the turn, right?
Right. I mean, there's almost no sizing we could pick. There are some, but they're not reasonable sizes, and not sizes we would ever pick. We're not going to bet 1.5 times the pot almost ever.
Right.
Right. Maybe we should all learn to do that, but right now that's not reasonable and not standard. So like Bruno, if he bets here, he should bet with the intention of betting a lot on the river too, and doing it when a club doesn't come. Basically.
Right. If a club comes, then we definitely give up on the river. If Isaac checks again, which of course he does. So I like that Bruno goes for it, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the wrong sizing, though. I think you can accomplish the same thing with the sizing of 2.1 million or something like that. Because what we're targeting here is King X or Jack X of clubs. I can't imagine what else we're targeting. I mean, we don't necessarily put Isaac on a one pair ace, which of course turned into 2 pair. But if he has ace 9, maybe he also has ace 5. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't think we're expecting him to show up with those hands, though, right? So we're targeting a king or a jack that missed their clubs. And it feels like 2.1 million gets the job done with relatively similar frequency to an all-in, which busts our tournament when we get called.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have 4 blinds instead of 0 blinds when our bluffs don't get through, and when our bluffs do get through, they get through with almost the same frequency, whether we bet 2.1 million or 5.2 million. Like, that's just straight up economics.
Yes, that's economics right there. That's freakonomics.
Supply and demand.
That's the freakonomics with the orange. That's also an apple or whatever it is.
I demand your supply.
That's a good point. So Bruno does move in.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily blame him. I like that he went for both streets. I think you have to, if you're going to go for the turn, you have to go for the river if it's not a club.
And
or a king or a jack. If it's a king or a jack, you give up too. But.
Yeah, I think so. But when you're in this spot, sometimes you're like, well, let me just pull out the whole tank, not just the howitzer.
Yeah.
Let's do everything we can to win right here. But But it ends up being a mistake as a result. We think.
Right. And with Barron's decision, it feels relatively simple. I mean, it's just too good of a hand at this point to fold against a player who has any aggression in him, right?
Right.
When we have aces up here, we could even be beating some value. Like, it's possible Bruno has king jack.
King Jack, exactly. We
Yeah.
can beat. There may be a few other weird 2-pair. We could end up beating King. What is it? King.
Eight.
What's the river? King 9.
King 9, king 8.
King 9, maybe King 8. Yeah, those are things we could also, in theory, beat. Which, well, we can beat. In fact, not in theory.
Yeah.
If he shows up with them.
Yeah, but despite that, he has enough bluffs. I mean, he could have clubs himself. We don't block those at all as Baron. So I think against a player with any aggression, we just have to call with his hand. It's a pretty simple decision.
I agree.
Yeah. So very, very interesting hand.
A lot of unusual plays here. I would say the most unusual is Isaac Barron deciding to check raise top pair when he's heads up here. Just not something you see that often these days. What do you guys think about that? By the way, what do you think about Bruno Vogman deciding to call with the 8-7? Holy molies, this is crazy. Do you like that play? Clearly he's got some nefarious things in mind here for later streets. Do you think that's good, or do you think you should just dump her right now? Or as Grant even came up with, do you think you should be 3-betting? Let us know in the comments how you think these guys play these hands and what your thoughts are. We want to hear about it.
And if you want to hear how we come to our thoughts, such as the idea of 3-betting the flop as Bruno, check out our podcasts. We go into those things just completely blind, except for we know the action of the hand. We haven't prepared. It's our entire thought process, our way of understanding poker. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of education, you know? Get in there. It's the Breakdown Poker Podcast with the Poker Guys.
The more you know.